This is the final part of the complete Star Ocean timeline. The ancient Needian Empire has fallen, the 10 wise men have been destroyed, and humanity's laws now reach across much of known space. But the central danger of the series has not disappeared. Powerful civilizations still believe that greater knowledge gives them the right to decide what other lives should become. By space date 537, the Pangalactic Federation is one of the dominant powers in the galaxy. On the remote world of Fayt 4, Fidel Camuze and Miki Sylvester become protectors of a mysterious child named Relia. Relia is pursued by Kronos, a rival interstellar power whose researchers use an underdeveloped planet as a hidden testing ground. Their experiments have given Relia and her twin sister, Faithlessness, symbological abilities capable of distorting space and time. Kronos does not see the children as people. It sees them as successful results. Federation officers, Emerson Kenny and Anne Patriciani, help Fidel's group, but the crisis exposes the limits of the Preservation Pact. A law against interference means little when an advanced power can hide its laboratories, exploit a remote population, and deny what it is doing. Kronos is not a secret branch of the Federation. It is a separate rival power. The failure exposed by Star Ocean integrity and faithlessness is that even the galaxy's strongest institutions cannot automatically protect an underdeveloped world simply because a law says they should. The story centers its largest conflict on two children who were altered before they could choose anything for themselves. Alma measures Relia and Faithlessness by what their abilities can accomplish. Fidel's party protects Relia's chance to grow into a person rather than remain someone else's project. That creates a strong thematic parallel with Ancient Need and the 10 Wise Men. Both stories involve powerful civilizations engineering living beings as tools. The games do not establish a direct connection between the two experiments. The parallel is thematic. The names and technology have changed. The mistake has not. 2 years later, the original campaign of Star Ocean Anamnesis takes place in space date 539. A Federation exploration ship is attacked by pirates. After a dangerous jump, its captain and the artificial intelligence Koro are left roughly 60,000 light-years from Earth. They meet Evelis, whose summoning ability can draw heroes and enemies from different eras into the same conflict. Because Star Ocean Anamnesis was designed as a crossover, its returning characters do not fit the chronology like ordinary people who have all survived to the same date. For this timeline, its original campaign is best treated as a space and time incident occurring in space date 539. That is a practical way to organize the story, not an official statement that every crossover event follows a simple linear canon. The captain, Evelis, and Koro eventually confront Operation Frost, the Devil's Plague, and the leadership of Leverance. The campaign broadens the series' use of temporal anomalies, but its most important role in this timeline is as a bridge between the Federation age and the crisis that follows. In space date 583, the Federation battleship Astoria attacks the merchant vessel Edis. Raymond Lawrence escapes to Aster 4, where he meets Princess Letitia. Her kingdom is at war with the Veil Empire, but their local conflict soon becomes part of a much larger struggle, involving the Federation and a networked civilization called Scorpium. The Edis was carrying Duma, a Scorpium probe capable of granting extraordinary abilities to those it chooses. Scorpium links organic life, machines, and shared information. Voluntary integration can expand knowledge and remove the limits of a single body. The technology itself is not inherently evil. The danger comes from the Centralists and their allies, who replace voluntary integration with forced assimilation and call the result evolution. The story also needs a careful distinction when discussing the Federation. The entire organization has not simply become evil. Marielle Kenny and other officers oppose the conspiracy from within. What Star Ocean: The Divine Force shows is that people inside a vast institution can use its authority, warships, and secrecy to pursue domination while claiming to protect galactic order. Raymond's perspective makes that especially effective. he is not a Federation officer defending the system from within. He is a civilian trader whose ship is destroyed by it. The crisis involving Scorpium leaves the Federation badly weakened. Afterward, Emerson Kenny takes leadership of the organization. Humanity once feared that technologically superior outsiders would decide Earth's future. Centuries later, human institutions possess enough power to make that decision for someone else. The Preservation Pact survives as an ideal. Whether the people enforcing it still respect the freedom behind that ideal is another question. Nearly 2 centuries pass before the final numbered game. Those years contain several developments that directly prepare the galaxy for what happens next. In Space State 704, practical creation energy technology emerges from discoveries made by the Calmus on Millicania during Claude Kenny's mission. Creation energy gives civilization access to power on an extraordinary scale. In Space State 710, the Federation makes contact with the Aldean Empire and almost immediately enters a major war with it. The Federation also makes contact with the Vendini, who initially remain neutral. In Space Date 732, an accident involving a creation cannon destroys the battleship Tilgrim and a nearby planet. The disaster leads to strict regulation of creation energy, repeating a familiar lesson. A discovery can transform civilization and still become catastrophic when treated as a weapon. In Space Date 752, the Federation begins formally studying the time gate on Styx. The same mysterious structure that once carried Roddick's party into Roke's past will now lead humanity beyond the boundaries of its own universe. The final numbered point in the chronology begins in Space Date 772. Fayt Leangode is on holiday with his family on Haida 4 when the Vendini attack. Sophia Steed and Fay's parents are captured, while Fay escapes and is eventually rescued by Cliff Fitir. Their ship is later forced down over Elacor II, an underdeveloped world caught in a war between Aquaria and Eriglyph. What begins as an interstellar conflict expands into a crisis involving the Pangalactic Federation, the Aldeans, the Vendini, the Time Gate on Styx, and beings called the Executioners. Fayt, Maria Trador, and Sophia carry genetically engineered symbological powers. Their parents and fellow researchers created 3 symbological genes after the Time Gate warned that the Creator would punish humanity's work in symbological genetics. Fayt carries destruction. Maria carries alteration. Sophia carries connection. Together, their abilities open a path through the Time Gate and into a dimension outside everything they have ever known. This is the revelation teased at the beginning of the timeline. Beyond the gate is 4-dimensional space. Its citizens know the universe as the Eternal Sphere, a vast artificial world created and operated by Sphere Company. The region, called the Milky Way, is only one part of it. To many people in 4-dimensional space, the Eternal Sphere is entertainment, infrastructure, and a place they can enter through projected bodies. To the civilizations inside it, it is simply reality. The Eternal Sphere was brought online billions of years before Earth or Need existed. Luther Lansfeld developed the core systems behind its creation and eventually became the owner of Sphere Company. The people inside the Eternal Sphere lived entire histories without knowing that their universe had been designed from outside. The Executioners are security programs. Sphere Company activates them when civilizations inside the Eternal Sphere develop beyond the limits expected by its creators. They begin laying waste to the Milky Way. The threat is not punishment from a god. It is a deletion command. Luther sees the people inside as data that has escaped its intended boundaries. Blair, another Sphere developer, reaches the opposite conclusion. She argues that the inhabitants have developed genuine sentience and are equal in value to the people who created their world. That distinction matters. The revelation does not mean the earlier games were dreams or events that never happened. Roke still suffered. Expel still died and returned. The remaining Median leaders still chose sacrifice. Every decision produced consequences for conscious people living inside a universe that behaved as reality to them. The Eternal Sphere is artificial in origin. By space date 772, its inhabitants are no longer artificial in any morally meaningful sense. Luther refuses to accept that. When Fayt and his companions resist him, he begins deleting the entire eternal sphere. Stars, planets, and history disappear. Then the characters continue to exist. The game does not provide a detailed technical explanation for how the universe survives. Fayt's final dialogue suggests that because their minds still exist and continue to perceive their world, their reality persists independently of Luther's system. That interpretation is the one most directly supported by the ending. Another theory suggests that Sphere Company's backup systems restored the universe after Luther's defeat. The game establishes that backups exist, but it never confirms that a backup caused the renewal. That explanation remains a theory. What the ending clearly establishes is its philosophical point. Creating conscious life does not grant permanent ownership over it. Origin does not determine worth. The eternal sphere continues its existence without Luther's permission. The old Pan-Galactic Federation may not survive unchanged either. After the devastation, Cliff is shown negotiating the creation of a new federation. Seen chronologically, Star Ocean is not only a history of faster ships and larger empires. It is a history of civilizations repeatedly confusing power with authority. Need masters symbology and tries to rule the galaxy. The missing procedure forces worlds to evolve. Humanity creates UP3 to restrain interference, then discovers that powerful institutions can preserve the language of law while violating its purpose. Kronos turns children into experiments. The Centralists twist Scorpium integration into assimilation. Sphere Company believes creating a universe gives it the right to erase everyone inside it. This is a thematic reading of the series rather than a single doctrine stated by its writers. But the pattern is remarkably consistent. Each era asks the same question on a greater scale. Who gets to decide what another life is allowed to become? The heroes never find a perfect law, institution, or technology that can answer that question for them. They answer through choices. Edge rejects forced evolution and unrestricted technological interference. Roddick and his companions cross time to save a world. Claude and Rena reject both the annihilation planned by the 10 Wise Men and the imperial logic that created them. Fidel protects Relia as a child rather than a weapon. Raymond and Letitia oppose integration without consent. Fayt confronts the creator of his universe and insists that life cannot be reduced to the purpose behind its design. That is the thread connecting more than 3.7 billion years of recorded lore. The galaxy changes. The scale expands. The names of its powers are forgotten. But freedom remains something every generation has to defend again. And that is the complete Star Ocean game timeline, from ancient need and humanity's first warp experiments to the moment the eternal sphere outgrows its creator. Some questions remain unanswered. Who released the 10 Wise Men from eternity space? How are the galaxy's oldest ruins connected? What form will the new Federation take after space date 772? And what truly exists beyond four-dimensional space? Which era deserves its own full lore breakdown? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed traveling through the history of Star Ocean, liking the video and subscribing would help me create more lore videos like this.